Welcome to Ignite 2022, an industry-focused professional panel series. My name is Katie Martucci. I use she, her pronouns. I'm Assistant Director for Career Education at Delaware Valley University in our Center for Student Professional Development, and I will be your friendly Ignite facilitator. So today's panel welcomes professionals from the technology industry who work at featured employer Siemens. Thank you everyone for being here today. So students, as a reminder, if you enjoyed today's conversation, you can email cspd@delval.edu to connect one-to-one with any of our panelists. And you can also check out additional Ignite videos on our SharePoint, which will be linked in the video notes. So with that, if everyone could go around and please briefly introduce yourself, that'd be great.
Thank you, Katie. I'm very happy to be here. My name is John Zeller. I'm market lead for Siemens Smart Infrastructure, Business to Society programs. Thank you. I'm looking forward to today's conversation.
Okay. My name is Greg Brown, project manager on site for Siemens.
My name is Brad Strauss. I'm a senior account rep for the automation and controls business.
And my name is McGee-Pasceri. I'm a business development manager for our digital services.
Thanks again, everyone. And I'm John, go ahead and you have the floor to share a little bit more about Siemens.
Thank you, Katie. Yeah, a little bit about Siemens. I'll keep it brief. We all work for Siemens Smart Infrastructure. However, there are very different business groups to Siemens. A little bit of background. Siemens is about 170 years old. A little, plus or minus about 387,000 employees across the globe. We operate in about over 200 countries, but there are 6 major business groups to Siemens. We work in smart infrastructure. This group focuses on connecting energy systems, buildings, and industries together, integrating them to be more efficient and sustainable. So we play in a lot of different technological spaces. There's also Siemens Industry that works on advanced new energy systems, digital industries, mobility. Siemens does a lot in rail and electric vehicle industry, healthcare, where Siemens is actually one of the leading diagnostic and imaging developers and manufacturers in the world that has technologies that play in both treating human and veterinary application, and finance. Siemens Financial Services is actually where we can directly fund and implement using our own capital many of the solutions that we develop. But again, we're all looking forward to today. And Katie, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks for that intro, John. And so we can kind of go in the same order, and unless you want to skip over, and that's okay too. But so John, start with you. So can you just talk a little bit about how you first learned about your current career choice in this industry?
Sure. Yeah, it was a long road. I didn't go to school specifically for smart infrastructure. I actually double majored in college, one in international politics and government, the other one in biology and science. After that, after I graduated, I did a tour in the U.S. Army, just trying to further explore where exactly I want to focus. When I got out of the Army in 2000, there was a recruitment, symposium with a company similar to Siemens that was looking for pretty much anyone that was interested in new technologies and understanding them and how they could be applied to commercial and industries, various industries, pharmaceutical, manufacturing, automation. They were looking for that right fit, and I joined that company as a service sales executive. They trained me in various automation technologies for those applications. But I became that company also did what they called energy performance contracting, which was implementing new energy efficiency upgrades to existing facilities. I was most interested in that, just trying to improve what was existing, making it more efficient, operate more cost effectively and cleanly. There was just a better way to do things. And what was also appealing to me were the different technologies that were involved. It was everything from mechanical, electrical, plumbing, HVAC to new automation and digitization technologies that were coming to the space. So very active, constantly evolving industry. But yeah, to your point, I didn't start off with just focusing on smart infrastructure. It was a long road to figure out what I wanted to do. But I've been in this industry for over 20 years. All the projects are, none of them are the same. They're all different, but they're all a lot of, they're very interesting to try and put together and build.
So you're telling me that a degree in political science didn't actually tee you up to be a new technology and automation seller, John?
Surprisingly, no. I really thought that was going to be, offered somewhere in there, but no, that never came to be.
I love that you shared that. It required, where you're at now, required a lot of on-the-job experience and just kind of going through the motions to learn the industry and see what options were available to you and see what you liked, what was a good fit for you based on your interests areas. Thanks.
It did. And I found that a lot of the people, when I started getting into this industry, started out the same way. It is trying to figure out what's of most interest to you, sticking with it. It's constantly learning. What you'll figure out on your job what you don't know. In our industry, it's new energy technologies. I need to understand hydrogen. The hydrogen energy industry that's coming, or there's fusion technologies that are happening in Europe. It's fascinating. They're all different. We need to understand them because they're coming to be. So it's challenging, but you never stop learning.
Thanks, John. And I think Greg, you want to go next?
So your question was, again, just so I make sure I clarify.
Yes. So can you talk about how you learned about your current career choice, how and when you learned about your current career choice in industry?
Basically, I'm going to follow kind of the same path that John went. I went to Drexel University for mechanical engineering and graduated from there. And actually, the first job I got out of college was with a telecommunication company. I was in their engineering department for 4 years doing design work. And it was funny at that point where they actually came to me and pulled me out of the engineering department and made me a project manager. And I ended up being the global facilities manager for the company by the time I finished with that organization. So while I was there with that organization, I went to school at night and obtained my MBA in finance. So having the technical background and a degree along with the financial allows me to oversee multi-million-dollar projects technically and financially. So moving on from that job, then I landed a job with an energy performance company in the energy industry. That's where I've now been for 20 plus years overseeing, and I'm on site. I work closely with developments and the engineers, and as we develop projects for the customer, I do the implementation. I kind of call it from cradle to grave. I go ahead and work with the customer. I'm on site, and I kind of say that I've done a fair share of my amount of traveling. I've probably been to every 50 states and traveled internationally doing the implementation for these projects. And as John said, technology is constantly changing, and I'm on the front line implementing this technology, and I'm always learning. And that's the thing about it is with this type of job, technology is constantly changing. You're constantly learning. There isn't, a point where you're not learning. And that's, for me, that's what makes the job really interesting. So that and being on site and interacting with the customer. I know John and the other teams have time to implement with the customer and FaceTime, but I'm normally with them actually here on the Morgan State University, and this is a 5-year contract. So I'm with the customers for 5 years. I'm actually the project manager for here from Morgan State University, and I'm the lead project manager. So when they need information, they come to me. And, being back to Drexel and mechanical engineering has kind of transformed into a career of dealing with mechanical systems, electrical systems, solar, geothermal, so many different technologies. I'll probably need another hour to explain what all the things that we've learned in the past. But in an overview, that's really what my career has turned out to be.
Thank you so much. I'm starting to notice this theme of, endless curiosity. You have to love learning. You have to be nimble and willing to grow and evolve. And also, like that you brought up, where you're working and the requirement of needing to travel. That might be up someone's alley and certainly not in others. So that's an important consideration.
I always say, right now, I'm glad to be in this time zone because the times I haven't.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, I think so. Brad?
Yeah. So I have a little different career path. I went to college. I studied for business administration in college. Took a 14-year hiatus playing professional baseball. And luckily enough, at the end of my baseball career, I was on a team and actually worked in the off season selling advertising for them. So I got some sales experience, learned that I actually really enjoyed sales and being involved in that process. And when I was retiring and leaving baseball, I had a friend who had a brother in this industry. He put out there that I was looking for a job, a new opportunity. They brought me in. I was able to, to get the job doing very similar to what I'm doing right now, service sales in, the automation business. So, it is very exciting to me. I enjoy the sales. I enjoy people. I think it's probably what I do best. Relationship building, things like that is the things that I enjoy about this job. As you can see, we have technical gurus that are going to be on this. Mark going next will be one, and I work closely, with Mark, with John. So part of, playing on a team, being on a team, I think that has served me well in my career so far. So I've been in this industry for 15 years now. I started in 2007. And those are the things that I enjoy. I do and obviously enjoy being on a team, working within a team atmosphere, is things that I enjoy. I like, I obviously like to win. We do enjoy that, but having that and being able to celebrate that with the team is something that gets me excited at the end of the day. So that's basically how I got into this, and still enjoying it 15 years later.
Thank you. I really appreciate you sharing sort of your sport background as well, because I think our student athletes will be interested to hear that. Even those who are, really interested to stay in that field, understanding that there might be life after.
I say that athletes and sales, they do go hand in hand, because what athletes learn that are very important in sales, first of all, you have to learn to deal with failure, which athletes learn all the time. And you have to learn to be, kind of perseverance, right? Perseverance, press on. And I say that we're in locker rooms, we're in clubhouses. We're in places with a lot of people. So you learn people, and that's a lot of times that's the things we learn in college that aren't necessarily things we read out of a book, right? The interactions, how we deal with people, things like that are just as important a lot of times for the career we're going to move on to. So
right, absolutely, those human skills that we all need. Thank you. Okay, Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think I figured out about my career a little differently than everyone else. It all started the day that I was born, September 7th, 1993. My parents pretty much groomed me for the job, right out of the hospital. But all kidding aside, I ended up going to Penn State. I'm repping my Nittany Lions right now. I was in an engineering program there, industrial engineering. I actually started to learn about data. Brad talked about some technical gurus. I wouldn't call myself a technical guru, but I'm totally a data nerd. I find a lot of value in data, analytics, those kinds of things. I've always had a passion for energy and sustainability and how that really applies. So coming into a company like Siemens, that was my first job out of college, really excited me. I mean, all the technologies that my counterparts just talked about, right? All the different ways that we touch and interact with customers and buildings and energy systems, how we bring that all together to create efficiencies. It's really exciting to me, right? To have that opportunity, because I really feel at the end of the day, what I get to do, I make an impact, right? So as I started with a leadership development program with Siemens, and that was really interesting because I actually got to do 4 jobs over the course of 2 years. So in that, I learned a lot about what I like to do, but I would say even more importantly, I learned about the things that I didn't like to do. And that really, when I started to get into that, I really started to understand that there was a space, right? There was an area where I could actually start to look at data and then marry that with energy and sustainability and optimization. That was literally my major, was like how to do things better. I think John started to hit on that, right? How do we make things more efficient? How do we improve processes? That was like exactly what I was focused on in school. And I started to see that opportunity develop with our digital services, which quite literally marries the use of analytics and data with what we do on site and how we fix problems, right? Making those processes more efficient, making our customers more efficient, improving energy spend and reducing energy spend within their organization. So I started to learn a little bit about the job through that program. And I was like, all right, I need to figure out a way to get to be a part of this organization within this company. And I started scouring everything. I started leveraging everybody in my network that I could. I always say you are as strong as your network is. So when you talk about team building and things like that, the team that we have around us, right? I might not know, Siemens is a gigantic organization. I don't know everything that Siemens does, but I can pretty much guarantee you that I know someone that knows about the thing that I'm trying to figure out, right? So I started really leveraging that network that I had built over the couple of years, and found myself in a marketing role for our digital service center. So I was really focused on positioning and how we were going to go out to market, how we were going to communicate to the market what we were doing. And I realized in that I want to be on the front lines for this. I really want to be out there. I want to be talking with our customers. I want to be understanding from their perspective. What I always say, doing my market research one conversation at a time, right? So ended up in the business development role. That actually took me out to the West Coast for about 3 years. And I just moved back to Philadelphia, took over our Northeast region as well as our national team for business development for digital service. So I would say a pretty fluid path, but it was really just about identifying early on the things that really interest and engage me, and then just figuring out ways to always be a part of that.
Well, welcome back to PA.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you everyone for sharing a little bit about your story and your background. It's really valuable to students. It's just so funny to me because, we walk around every day and we bump into people in the grocery store, we see someone on campus or in our workplace, and everybody has a story and something of value to share. So it's just great to hear such diverse perspectives and experiences. So we'll move on to our next question. I would love if you could share an example of a professional obstacle. You might call it a failure, whatever kind of word you'd like to use to describe that. Something that was really challenging for you and how you overcame it, or maybe what the outcome was. And John, go ahead if you have something that you can think to share.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, it involved a project. And again, all the projects that we work on, they're out there in the field. They can be all over the place. And this particular project was with a school district. They had an existing geothermal system in their serving one of their schools. It was antiquated. It was all original, needed to be upgraded. There are a lot of different technologies and manufacturers out there, I guess, promoting or trying to, they're trying to out market their technologies as being the best and most efficient. These are, to upgrade a geothermal system, it's not cheap. It's a lot of data analysis, understanding the existing conditions, looking at the numbers, comparing the various technologies that are out there in the industry today, and trying to make the best selection of a best fit, that's going to remedy the situation. Our engineering team, it's a team effort. It's engineers, it's project managers, it's everybody looking at the same information, trying to make the best, most informed decision. We made that decision with the client. We implemented this technology that everybody believed would solve the geothermal issue. Over time, it never satisfied it never met the specification, or the manufacturer was, I guess, overselling their capabilities with this particular technology. But it was on us. Regardless of that, we had to make it right. It's a school district. They have kids coming back to school in a few months, and we all had to chip in and overcome this in pretty short order. Reinvest in the project and make it right. So it's, we're all in business to make money, but sometimes you just have to make it right. Especially on a client like that, we all have children, we all work with school districts. We understand that they need to be up and operational, safe and clean by the time the kids come back to school. So, it wasn't an easy project, a lot of long nights, but the team really pulled together and we made it right.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right. So the challenge for myself, and it's very clear in my mind, was COVID. The challenge with COVID, since I'm so used to being on site, all of our locations got shut down. We were all locked down, and we had to switch to a virtual management of the projects, which made it very difficult, especially for myself. Used to be on site, hands-on, overseeing the contractors, interacting with the customers face to face. COVID presented a challenge like we've never seen before. I'm used to hopping on a plane or driving and being there, but through new technologies of virtual teams, Zoom calls, exactly what we're doing now. I think a lot of industries learned how to adapt, how to overcome that isolation that COVID created. So with that, it's it was a challenge to get the work done, not physically being there. And the customers, the subcontractors that we work with, the Siemens team performed great. It allowed us to complete the work in a timely manner and get things done. So, okay.
Thanks. I mean, that's very relevant. I'm sure students will be able to relate to that as well. Maybe having to take their coursework virtually in some cases, or maybe having to make a decision about whether or not to be in the res halls or what. Everyone's life was impacted by that, and in the workplace, certainly no different. So thanks, Mark or Brad. Go ahead.
So mine was a little bit more account related. Trying early in my career, especially there's a lot of you're trying to get out there and meet customers and solve some situations for them, help them out, and build relationships. Try to win over a customer. And I had a big challenge in front of me with a customer who did not like my previous employer, that was really like moving away from us. And I was able to get in there. I was able to build a relationship with him, and then actually through showing him some of our technical technology and the advances in that technology, was actually able to overcome a previous bid where they had bid out for what is called a SCADA system, which is their overall arching software system, like kind of to look at their campus and all the controls and chiller plants, boiler plants, and all those things. And I was actually able to get them to buy our product, go with us through demonstration and through trust, basically, of building that relationship and kind of doing what I said we would do. And it's been a great relationship for 15 years. It is the place where John and I are actually doing some business, working on business now. So it was very, very helpful for my career, actually, right? Because it was a big customer. It became a very big customer of mine. And it just to help overcome for them, they had a big challenge and couldn't meet the expectation that they set. And we were able to do that for them. So that was my biggest one to date.
Yeah, that's great. I think relationships are how work gets done. And the more students realize that and take that to heart, and the more they are a person of their word, right? And are able to build that trust, whether it's in an interview or it's with a client once they finally get their position. So key.
Yeah, integrity is definitely a big part of what we do every day, because if you lose your integrity, you've lost it all. You'll never get that back.
Thanks. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, for me, I think one of the biggest challenges of my career when I started the role that I'm currently in out on the West Coast, there was a lot of change. I was coming to a completely different area. I didn't have a lot of my networking connections. I had previously worked in our home office, and then I was coming out into our field organization. I didn't have that team. I didn't have that network in the field. I felt like I was a little bit out on an island, sort of out there, and I was doing a lot of work on my own. My team was all over the country at that point, and I was just getting to know them. And I didn't have the technical acumen, right? So it was like, there was so much change from what I was previously doing and where I was to this new role. And it was really, really challenging. I remember I was like at the end of probably like 4 or 6 months, and I was like, I don't even know if I'm cut out. Like, this is the job I've always wanted. I don't even know if I'm cut out to do this. Right. But I really, I started to, like we were just talking about, I really leaned on resources. I've worked really hard to build that network so that I could have those interactions with people, so I could have those genuine interactions. And even some of the people that I've worked with have become really close friends right through that. And, I worked through my manager and people that I knew had my back in order to build that technical acumen so that I could go out, I could build that level of comfortability. When I talk to someone and I show up in a room, I can be the expert in there, right? So I think that was really special, overcoming that, because this is something like I love what I do, and I really mean that. And I feel really lucky to have had that opportunity to leverage those resources to build that network so that I could overcome that challenge, so that I could do what I love.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I think career management is something that everyone kind of faces challenges with at some point in their trajectory. And it's, I think, really helpful for students to understand that we might all experience some uncertainty and feel a little wobbly, especially when we're new. And that could be new to an internship or new first day at a new position, but that's normal. So using the resources that you have available to you, asking for help, that's all really wonderful advice, I think, for students to latch on to. So thanks. Okay, so I think we will kind of put you guys in the hot seat for your, best pearl of wisdom. What would you share as a piece of advice to a current DelVal student who might hope to work in your field after graduation? And keep in mind, so DelVal doesn't necessarily have engineering majors, or we don't have an IT focused degree. So maybe somebody who has an interest in data, in business, in the sciences, sort of more broadly, what can they do to kind of make this transition and kind of go towards a role or a company like Siemens?
Yeah, I think Siemens is so large. There's so many different areas that Siemens works within. I mean, I think everything from technology to infrastructure to finance to healthcare. It really covers such a wide spectrum. I think, Mark, you made the point, you figured out what you didn't like to do. It's okay. That's part of finding your career. It's figuring out what you don't want to do and what you're most interested in. But it was, I went to school for things that I don't currently focus in. It's, a lot of it's a learning experience. You figure out what is of most interest to you, and you start just getting in the door. Siemens has thousands of job openings in all these different industries. There are summer internship programs. There's internship programs, mentorship, fellowships for all these different industries. It's just starting somewhere, getting in, and networking and figuring out where you think you might provide the best fit, value, what's of most interest to you. And then you never stop learning. It's an ongoing process, and I think that's what we all like most about Siemens is that nothing's ever stays the same. Every every project is different. Every application is different. You got to think these things through. I work on a team, and I hear frustrations on other projects, and I was telling a coworker the other day, I'm like, we spend our time trying to figure out the best solution for things, and that's pretty much what I've seen at Siemens through my time here is that everybody's giving their best effort. So never give up. Keep looking to find what is of most what makes you passionate. At least here at Siemens, it's a very employee focused business and company. They are always looking for, how can we do it better? Where do you see yourself fitting in this organization? What's the employee's idea of career path? They really want to know that. So it's a great company to work at. Personally, I can say it's the best company I've worked at in my career. And the future projects are, it's never ending as far as potential or application. So.
Okay, thank you. And Greg?
Sure. If I had to say one thing, it's one word is change. There's constant change. Going for your 4-year degree in a certain discipline and thinking you're out into the workforce. I traveled around in so many different directions, and I would have never guessed in a million years I would be doing what I'm doing right now. And it's through the changes of industry, it's changes of the economy, it's changing of globalization that kind of direct and push you in certain directions. And it's as John said, it's a constant learning. But I can definitely say the change you have to get used to. Finding where, I have 3 children and 2 are in college, 2 are at Penn State, chemical engineers, Mark. So, they are learning. They're learning their trade, but where they're going to end up and what type of work they're going to be doing, that's actually the beauty of it. They don't know. The world is open. And you can, once you get into an industry and you learn a certain amount of information, your likes, dislikes, it changes, and you gravitate towards different industries, different positions within an organization. Once again, constantly learning, but change is constant, and you never know where you're going to end up. I never thought I'd end up doing a project at the U.S. Embassy in Belize, and I didn't think I'd end up in the island of Cyprus doing the U.S. Embassy there. So, never know. So, it will change.
Now you're in Maryland.
Now,
Good place to be. Good place to be. Okay, go ahead, Brad.
So Greg kind of changes kind of the way I was going to, but a little different in the scenario of with our business, right? It just like we have talked about already, technology changes constantly, right? It's getting more in the area that Mark is dealing in. It's very data driven, right? It's about giving people as much information in a way that they can digest it. With the business that I'm in, we've always had, the software and the front end and people could, trend how certain pieces of machinery are working and how things are going. But at the end of the day, they only have 8 hours to do their job, and they can't dig into all of that data because they just don't have enough time. They're running a college campus, or they're running even K through 12 with multiple buildings. It's very hard to dig into every single piece of machinery and all that data. So now we've come up with ways where we can give them that data in a nice digestible format. And for me, it's just the change of how what I'm doing, right? What is it I'm actually going out and helping customers with, and you have to be adaptable to that change because it's constant. And with Siemens, I think that, the interesting part is, and just like everybody that's on this call, right? There's a lot of different ways you can go once you're in the company, right? If you're in the company, you may think, hey, I'm coming in and I'm going to be what I'm doing, right? You're going to be in service sales for automation. And you may decide that you want to go into a totally different direction. And the great part about Siemens is they'll help you get there. It is a great company. They do help you learn. They want, people to be in those, roles that and give them the opportunities to grow within this organization. It's one of the benefits of an organization that's the size of Siemens. But that's what I would say is you have to be adaptable to change. You have to, it is inevitable, and it's always going to happen. And when you've been in the business for 15 years, sometimes that's hard because you get set doing a certain thing in a certain way, but you have to learn and adapt, or soon enough you won't be here, you'll be doing something else. But it is one that I agree with, the change.
And I think you're getting pretty good to change that data-driven pitch. Sounded pretty good, man. You've been hanging out.
Trying.
I'm sold.
Yeah, thank you. We share with students this idea of keeping a beginner's mindset as much as possible, even as they get confident in a subject area, or they get confident at their internship, or whatever it is that they're doing. Because if you get too relaxed, you're gonna, things will get shaken up soon enough. So it's good to always be approaching problems and approaching your work as if you have that beginner mindset. Yeah, and then Mark, I'd love to hear from you.
Short and sweet, but I think for me, the biggest advice that I would have would be take risks. I think Brad said this earlier, like a willingness to fail. Like it's okay to put yourself out there. If you see something that you really want, you should go for it, right? There's no reason just because you have, whatever major and it doesn't apply, or, you don't think maybe you're the right fit. It's like, if you see something that you want, you should definitely put yourself out there, start a conversation, find someone, right? I mean, I remember I was going on LinkedIn and I was like finding people that were related to this. And I was like, can we connect? Can we talk? Like, there's just so many avenues to connect with people nowadays. I don't think that there's anything wrong when you see something that you want, putting yourself out there, taking a risk. accepting the fact that it might not work out. But in my experience, a lot of people say showing up is like 80% of the job, right? If you show up, if you put yourself out there, I think you can really make an impact. You could make a good name for yourself. You could start to have the right conversations that will allow you to open those doors to get to the next opportunity. So I think that would be my biggest piece of advice.
Thanks. Yeah, and I love that you did a LinkedIn plug there because you're always encouraging students to learn more about that and help them understand that it's for them right now, not just for when they're ready to graduate. They can start building up their presence now and start building their network now. So thank you. Well, I think that we covered a lot of great ground today, and I really appreciate, again, everyone's time. John, I don't know if there's a last piece of advice. If students want to apply to positions, where should they go?
Certainly, there's in the Siemens website. We're also, the website features, a direct HR link for various jobs opportunities in all the different Siemens industries. There's also information on internships as well. And, I'm happy to provide, I'm on LinkedIn. I think, the Siemens team here is all on LinkedIn. You can message us. You can, I'm happy to share my email and contact information with any students that want to have a follow-up conversation. I can point them in the right direction. Siemens has a dedicated recruitment team also. Her name is Patricia Hayes, and and she spends her time just trying to find the right fit for applicants throughout Siemens. So I'm happy to make intros and share any information I receive with her and see how we can help.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Sure.
All right, everyone, have a great rest of your day wherever you're at. And please feel free to stay in touch with our office too. We appreciate it. So that'll be the end of our Ignite recording for today. Thank you.